I used to work with someone who basically had an implant,
Right.
which is like
Yeah,
contraceptive
yeah, yeah,
thing in
yeah.
their arm.
I had to think about that. I was like, do you mean like digital ID implant or like brain implant? I was
No,
like,
that's a
all
few
right.
years in the
I was like, oh,
future.
you mean the contraception? Right.
So she,
2023, not 25.
yeah, it's coming. So she basically had an implant in her arm, and she was going through a phase in her life
Mm-hmm.
where she was sleeping around a lot,
Yes.
and she was also had like an eating disorder, was also doing a lot of drugs.
Mm.
And she went to the doctors to get her implant changed. And she's basically when she was telling me this story, she was essentially suing her doctors because she went to the doctors and to get the implant changed
Yeah.
to get the implant changed, but the nurse or the doctor didn't do a pregnancy test. And apparently when you're switching your implant over, because there's no exact date when it finishes, so
Right.
you
It's
roughly
kind of
take
like,
it,
yeah,
it's very
okay. It's
rough.
like a
You
guesstimate.
Yeah, so it could stop working and you could still thinking it's working when it's not. So what they're supposed
And
to
get
do is take a
pregnant.
pregnancy test in between,
Right.
but they didn't do that. They popped another one in her arm. She carried on. Fast forward a bit, I
And she
think
was pregnant.
she was pregnant, but she didn't know this
Right.
until like 6, 7 months into
Oh,
her
no.
pregnancy. So she's telling me the story, and she was saying that what she was doing is obviously she was doing loads of drugs, she was
Mm.
drinking loads, she had an eating disorder, she was going to the gym a lot, and she goes, I thought I was getting fat. And she's like, I couldn't understand why, because obviously I wasn't eating food.
I
I was
thought I
doing
was
loads.
getting
I was
fat.
doing loads of drugs, and I was going to the gym all the time. And she goes, sometimes I would punch my belly. I would punch my belly, thinking, "Why are you so fat? Like, why aren't you going down?" She goes, and it was so hard, and I didn't understand why. And then eventually, I realized, oh my gosh,
I'm
I'm
pregnant.
pregnant. Or like she did a pregnancy test, or someone said
Oh,
something to
I
her,
don't
which made her
know.
think, oh my gosh, I could be pregnant. Turns out she was pregnant. Luckily, the baby came out perfectly fine and healthy. So she's very
Damn.
lucky.
When you add the lines, I was taking a lot of drugs with I'm pregnant, your mind goes places, you think the
Yeah,
worst for the kid. So
yeah.
that's good news.
But she came out really healthy, really lovely. And at the time that she was suing the doctors, I think her daughter was like 2.
Uh-huh.
But essentially, what she was suing them for was because you didn't do a pregnancy test.
Negligence.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
essentially, now she's ended up with a child that she didn't actually want,
Mm-hmm.
and she wasn't even capable of having, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously she had to get sober, she
Mm-hmm.
had to sort of drug habit out,
Mm-hmm.
her eating disorder out,
Mm-hmm.
and all the rest of it. And
God works in mysterious ways. Do you know what I mean? It probably, that all happened for a reason to help her sort her shit out.
yeah, for sure. I
Probably.
mean, she sorted most of it out. I think she still had like a bit of an eating disorder, which was one of the
Mm.
things she was managing when I worked with her.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, the way that she was managing it, she was constantly eating, but like eating small amounts.
Yeah. Okay.
Like she wouldn't use, you wouldn't see her eat large meals. She'd just be grazing all day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but in that scenario, the reason that she was able to sue them was because I've ended up with a child that I didn't want,
Mm-hmm.
and you should have to pay for that child because I'm not equipped to pay for this child. I didn't plan this child,
Mm-hmm.
and you gave me a service, etc., etc. So I think potentially if she wins that case, if she has won that case, because this was quite a few years ago,
They'll have to pay child
I
support.
imagine they'd have to pay for her child for like 18 years.
Really?
I can't see why not.
I guess
Because
if that's what they're going for, I guess
because they should have done a pregnancy test, and if she had found out at the beginning of the
then she would have
pregnancy,
aborted it.
probably, yeah. And luckily her
It's
family are really
tough, isn't it?
wealthy, and her parents helped her out and they looked after her,
Mm.
etc. But the reality was she was like, I was not in a position to have a child,
Yeah, yeah.
mentally, physically, emotionally.
Hence why I had the
The implant in.
implant because I didn't want kids.
Yeah, exactly. So, the mistake is on
Mm.
the doctor's part. And I know this is like a very extreme scenario to like the dilemma that I was talking about, but essentially it's the responsibility of the man to have told her that information before she got married. Okay, fair enough,
Mm.
marriage, like, if she didn't have a child and you were just married, she could divorce you and she'd carry on with her life as normal. She probably would still have a job and a career,
Yeah.
etc. But this woman's left her job, she's left her career.
Whole life changed
Yeah,
based on the
exactly.
relationship she's having with this man.
Yeah, and he's been able to influence that, and he's
Yeah.
helped her make decisions based on the current information that she has.
Yeah.
So should he not have to, is there not some sort of like repercussions far greater than I'm sorry and just a divorce and giving you child support? Because you've affected her life for forever now, or at least for the next 18 years.